So even if we are pressed for time, we would like to present our distinguished guests with one or two questions, if we may. And while you collect your thoughts and decide what questions you would like to present, perhaps I may begin by asking the two of you, and perhaps I may direct my question first to Mr. Gao Feng, because in your presentations, you mentioned the so-called trilateral consultative meetings between the North Asian states on Arctic affairs, that is to say between China, Japan, and Korea. May I ask you to tell us how those meetings are organized and what are the main issues that are being discussed and deliberated upon in those meetings?
Yes, this meeting started a couple of years, 4 years ago in Korea. Korea was the very first country when the first trilateral meeting was held. So this meeting started as part of the action to implement the joint statement by the Prime Minister's level. A declaration was made, and then we jointly take action to implement the joint declaration by the Prime Ministers of the three countries, and this trilateral meeting on the Arctic cooperation was part of the effort. So we start this trilateral efforts from Korea. Maybe Korean ambassador can also add his thoughts to this answer. And we actually during the four meetings so far we concentrate on the trilateral cooperation on scientific cooperation in the most interested area, like climate change. So it's highly understandable. So the three countries are all have very actually intensive scientific programs on the scientific research on that particular issue. So it's very important. So we decided to promote the scientific activities, concentrate on that global issue, on that very urgent issue. So we start from this area. So far, so that's the progress so far we made. And maybe Ambassador, you have something to add to this?
The important feature of trilateral high-level dialogue is that reaffirmation of the common will, common passion, that the three countries have interest and would like to participate in global goals, including Arctic affairs. And three countries is large emitters of greenhouse gases. We owe to the global agenda endeavors that we should take part. But we should first start from the three countries. We should move forward to low carbon economies. And also we like to contribute to the Arctic affairs by identifying the causes of climate change and environmental degradation. And also we should give more input on the scientific research to mitigate environmental degradation and also more sustainable management of resources, and also winning cooperation in the Arctic sea route, and many business opportunities, also the environmental protection. We have common grounds, and we also how to come up with the ways to contribute to the Arctic affairs. That's our common agenda.
Thank you very much. May I invite members of the audience to present questions? So over there.
Hello, my name is Federico Petroni. I work as a geopolitical analyst for Limes. an Italian review of geopolitics. My question for Mr. Feng is, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in his May speech at the Arctic Council, refused to accept other countries from outside the Arctic branding themselves as near Arctic states. China brands herself as a near Arctic state. My question is China planning to rebrand herself? Thanks.
No, the answer is just one word, no. Because we are close. As I said in my statement, from my childhood, we experienced how strong the cold fronts from Japan, from the Arctic could be. So it was really, really cold. But when I grew up and entered the university, I suddenly found that the winter was never that cold. And for so many years, we have seen so many evidence of climate change. So we think, far or close, we have all take action to address the problems in the Arctic. But we are still close.
If I may ask a concluding question, because we can speak for a long time about the relationship between the Arctic and Asia, and the Northeast Asian states have been a constructive partner in scientific research and in many different international initiatives in the Arctic. Do you worry that what is seen to be increasing and elevated tensions in Sino-US relations will affect the way in which countries in Northeast Asia, and in particular China, can contribute constructively to Arctic affairs?
So it's a question to me or also to Ambassador? Huh? Okay, let me take it. I don't think so. I have stated actually in Shanghai when the Arctic-Circle China Forum was held this May in Shanghai. I stated that we are determined to continue our cooperation with all the countries, including the countries in the Arctic region and all the observer states, to seek the common goods in the Arctic, including our actions in climate change. So we will continue to cooperate with all the parties under the Paris Agreement of the UNFCCC, including the Arctic Circle here and other Arctic fora like Arctic Frontiers, Arctic, the region for dialogue in Russia, and all the other aspects related to the Arctic. So we will continue what we have been doing, so we will continue that to seek the win-win solution as we illustrated in our white paper issued about 2 years ago.
Some comments? Yeah, please. That is why we need some stable governance structure in the Arctic that is should be based on the sustainability. Sustainability includes the security and stable management of the Arctic Circle regions. And most people are worried about the return of geopolitics, including Arctic region also. It can be, but we should manage the kind of geopolitical issues That's why it needs a more peaceful and stable Arctic. As I remember that, I think Minister Farrell, that the only winner of Arctic is the people there. So that means we need all the efforts, even if rivalry, should contribute to the people in the Arctic. That's very important, and Korea will also do our part. And also maybe the EU it can be a role to play as a mediator of the Arctic geopolitics. Thank you.
On that note of commitment to continued collaboration and commitment to constructive engagement in Arctic affairs, we conclude this session.